Hey Cafe Cats, and welcome back to another wallpaper. And today we're gonna have a fun little small, I don't know, might be long, might be small, discussion about like a creepy time that we've had. We had some experiences, okay? And we're gonna tell you at least maybe one or two of them, depending on how long this is gonna go for. So today, it's a me zero and a silver.
Hello.
So the first one we're gonna talk about, a little backstory is that I ended up moving in with Silver's family when I was like 17. Yeah.
17. You were almost 18.
Almost 18. So yeah.
It wasn't that you had moved in. It was more that like you were spending so much time at our house that your mom was even like, okay, come visit me sometime.
And then it was like official. After
yeah,
that,
and eventually
like
you got to move in.
So that's how that went. So Silver will tell you her experience, and then I came in after that. So
yes.
Go ahead.
Back in 2000 something, my family acquired a ranch-style house in Bufu, Nowhere, Illinois. And this house seemed perfect. It was a good size, and there was room for all of us. There were 3 bedrooms, I believe, upstairs, or maybe 2. You know, it's been so long that at this point, I don't remember how many rooms were upstairs. I just remember what was downstairs, which makes sense because my room was downstairs. My little brother had the upstairs room. My parents had an upstairs room next to my little brother. There was a bathroom, a living room, dining room, kitchen, and then a attached spot to the garage, and down the stairs from across from the garage was the basement. And that's where I lived. My dad actually built us extra rooms because there were only so many rooms, but there was a full, like, unfinished basement. And he did the same thing in one of the previous houses we lived in. Sorry, my brain just didn't work for a second. One of the previous houses we lived in, he built my brothers their bedroom. So this time, because my younger brother was still young, and my mom's like, well, you know, I don't want him living in the basement. We're just going to put the older kids in the basement this time, if that's all right with you. And Dad was like, sure. And I was like, no, because I don't like basements. So he built us rooms in the basement. There was a big one for me, and a slightly smaller one for my older brother because he was almost never at home, and then a small guest room that my dad also built. And that was the setup. There was you come down these stairs to, like, tucked behind it, there's a laundry room. Next to that is the office. There's a little hallway with, like, a small rectangular room that has, like, a toilet in it. It was weird because it was just a toilet sitting in the middle, like, fully attached, fully functioning in the unfinished basement. My room, my brother's room, and the guest room. Some creepy shit happened in this house. Am I allowed to say shit?
You are now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Some creepy shit happened in this house. And basically, when we moved in, everything seemed hunky-dory except for my dad was having horrible nightmares. My mom was having horrible nightmares. My brother, unaffected. Always unaffected. You know, and I was uneasy because it felt like something was watching me from outside the hallway. And I didn't have a door. So at night, basically, I'm crawling up into my bunk bed, covering my face with my head, with my blankets, because it just felt always like there was something downstairs watching me. It couldn't get into my room, and I don't know why. It just felt like whatever it was couldn't pass the threshold of my door. And it would feel like there was something standing there watching me. And in the middle of the night, if I had to go up or come down to the basement, I would run. That's how scary it felt down there. And like, I already don't like basements, so I'm just like, basement. But this felt different. And in the beginning, when we first moved, I couldn't discern what this was. Like, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't perceive it. I just felt like this ominous presence that was looming over me at all times when I was in the basement. And so I basically had to beg my dad to put a door on, and he finally eventually did. And I felt a little bit more comfortable, but not completely. I still always felt like there was something down there watching me, and it was just really weird. And as time went on, you know, I kind of perceived these things, because it turns out there was more than one of whatever this was, and there's like 4 or 5. How many Do you remember? Was it 4? I think it was like 4.
4?
There was 4 of whatever these were, and they were just creepy. And I'm not even sure how to explain how I saw what they were, because like when people say they see a ghost or something, you assume they see with their eyes. Like, this is not what this is. I didn't see whatever this was with my eyes. I perceived it with something entirely different than my eyes. I just knew what it looked like, even though I didn't see it with my physical eyes. And there was like 4 or 5 of them. I'm pretty sure it was technically 5, but one of them stopped showing up. And I didn't want to be alone. You know, lots of weird shit had been happening when I was alone in the basement. My brother was never home. Like, my older brother was never home. So I was always completely by myself at night in this basement. And so I started inviting Zero over to, you know, come and hang out with me so I wasn't alone. But I didn't tell him that there was anything wrong with the basement, that I had seen anything, because I didn't want him to think I was crazy, because I know that not everybody believes in this stuff. And if, you know, you don't believe in that stuff, that's fine. You don't have to. Maybe I'm just crazy in your opinion, but that's your opinion, and this is my experience. So I didn't tell him anything, and I just started bringing him over so I didn't have to be alone in the basement. And it was such a nightmare when I had to take him home. Like, I hated taking him home. And like, it got to the point where he was at my house for like weeks on end because he was homeschooled and he was done with school. I wasn't. So he would just wait for me to get off of school. And then when I'd get off of school, I'd do homework and we'd hang out, and I didn't have to be alone.
Yep.
So, you know, I didn't tell him that they were there. And one night we're chilling out in the guest room, and he just turns and looks at me and he goes,
"Do you know there's things down here in your basement?"
And I have never felt more validated in my entire life, because anytime I tried to tell my parents that there was something severely wrong, there was something creepy with this house, they just would not hear it. Despite the fact that both of them were having vivid, terrible nightmares about horrible, horrible things, like something, you know, murdering all of us. Like one of my mom's stories was that she had a nightmare that something or someone had come in and slaughtered everyone but her. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing wrong with this house.
Right? Like, what?
Oh my God. The worst part, though, is that because, as you guys know, Zero is an artist, he had drawn something, and I literally looked at it and I said, that is exactly what's in our basement. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what's in my basement. I don't know how you did this, but this is what I see exactly. How did you do that?
Didn't I tell you, too, that that's what I've been seeing?
Yeah, that's what you've been seeing in the basement, too. So it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was really creepy. And they would follow us around the basement, depending on which room we were in. Mm-hmm. And they would sit right outside the door.
Yep. It is like they couldn't get in.
And the corners of the darkness of the rooms in the basement, too. Like, if there was a spot where the light of the door was, like, shining through, they would scooch back into the darkness to avoid the light, it seemed. And it was just really creepy.
It was so creepy. I mean, like, the basement had those, like, not drop ceilings, but, like, you know when you have the beams?
Yeah.
And it's not, like, rafters.
The rafters,
It's like rafters. And my dad built the walls, but he didn't build them up and into the rafters. He was going to get to that part where, you know, he was going to put drywall between each one of them or whatever it was he was going to do. And so, like, they would creep it up and over and look into the room from those spots.
Yep, because light couldn't reach in there.
Because light couldn't reach in there, but they could see us there. So, like, they would always be creeping at me from my brother's room. Because if you were to stand up, like, all the way, because, like, the gap, it wasn't a really big gap. It was maybe, like, I don't know, 2-3 inches. I don't know, it was about this.
Yeah, it was pretty.
It was a pretty sizable gap. Like, if you were to hold up your 4 fingers.
Yeah.
And it's from like the bottom of your fingers to the top of your fingers. That was the gap size. And if you were to stand up and look over, you could look over, but it takes work and you have to actually get up there. But they would always be looking at us from those spots in any of the rooms because they had that gap. Yep. It was just so weird.
And for me, like, because I've always been sensitive with reflections and mirrors, I actually literally had to cover like the TV that they had in the guest room because I'm like, yeah, nope. Anything that had, like, reflection in the dark, I was like, nope, nope, covering every single thing.
I mean, it got so bad that when we had the huge dresser I had a huge antique dresser with 2 mirrors that my nanny gave me. I let my dad keep it when we finally moved, but I had to turn it against the wall, so the mirrors were, flat against the wall, and they were facing the opposite wall, and then I had to move my bed into a corner, because it used to be that it was right across from my bed, and I couldn't...
And that's where the door was, right?
No.
Oh, no.
No, from before, when it was in that corner where we moved the bed, it was in that corner, and my bunk bed was right here, and the mirrors were there, and it was just...
It was too creepy.
It was too creepy. And it finally stopped. I mean, it didn't really stop. It never really stopped until we moved and we didn't experience anymore. Luckily, nothing, followed us. But it didn't finally stop being so bad until we got a little mirror charm that is supposed to scare away, like, evil spirits.
Yeah, it's a Chinese mirror charm.
It's a Chinese mirror charm. And it's supposed to scare away evil spirits because they look at their reflection and it scares the crap out of them or something. And we hung that on my door, and everything was fine until after we left.
Yep.
We hadn't had to deal with it.
That was the only thing that protected us.
Only thing that protected us. Aside from the fact that, like, Zero said, I don't know what it is or why they won't come in, but I think it has to do with you.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, yeah, because I'm sitting there like, whatever you are, I don't want you in here. Don't come in here.
Yeah.
So, like, by sheer force of will, I kept them out of the room, I guess. That's what he thinks.
Yeah, I think she just busted out all the energy she had out of fear, like creepy, like no big note block, just to keep them out of the room. But yeah, that was an experience, and it was one that we shared. And granted, we shared a couple of, like, very strange experiences, but that one was the biggest one.
It was the biggest one. I mean, he could even describe to me what the other ones looked like, because there was one that looked like it was a bloated corpse.
Yep.
It was all white and grotesque. There was one that looked like a burned man.
Yep.
There was
the one long, dark one.
Yeah.
And then the one that looked like a child that had, like, scars everywhere, basically. And it was just really weird.
And there was a really tall one that looked like it was missing all its skin.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what these things were. Mm-mm. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to find any information on what they could have possibly been.
Yeah.
But I don't go looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, we even looked for the history of the house, but it was kind of a newer house.
It was kind of, it was built in the 70s.
It was an older house, but it was revamped to look new, right?
Like, it had some remodeling done. But it wasn't, like, super old. It was from the 1960s or 70s. I think it was a 1970s ranch-style house. So it's, like, all one level except for the basement.
Yeah.
And it was just...
It was something else, because it kept you on your toes.
It did.
You couldn't be you alone, because you always felt like something was there.
Yeah. I mean, even when we got Bowie, he started to act up.
Yeah,
when
which
we were
is
down
our
there.
the family dog.
Yeah, family dog. He acted really weird, because he wasn't anxious before he came to us.
He hated being alone down there.
He hated being alone down there. He hated it. He would not go downstairs by himself, and I don't blame him. It was scary.
And you know how animals are. They know more than we do. I always feel that they can always feel and know more than we do. So if it bothered him,
something was up.
Yep.
And then finally we moved out. So that was the most relief I had felt in a while. And we only had 1 or 2 instances of something weird happening in the new place. So we moved into, like, a nice, busy suburb, and one of the first weeks we were in the house, was it? Mm-hmm. Or was it, after a while that we'd been in the house? Was it one of the weeks?
It was about, like, half a year, I think.
It's like, the first 6 months in, I had this really strange voice as I'm trying to fall asleep look at me. I don't know, it was weird, because, like, I could hear her voice, and I could, like, I had my eyes closed and I could, like, see her, but I couldn't see her. I don't know how to explain it. I still don't know how to explain what that is. But there was a girl standing there, and she was like, what should we do with him? What should we do with him? And I'm closing my eyes, and I'm, pulling my blankets up, because, like, I don't want to do anything with him. I'm like, nothing, leave him alone. And that same night...
Yeah, I don't know if it was at the same time or
not. It was the exact same night, because I told you about it in the morning.
It was the same night. I don't know if it was the same time that you were having your episode, but... The same night, I was having a dream. Like, I was feeling like someone was right on top of me, and I couldn't move my body. It was almost like I was paralyzed, and there was nothing I can do. But I didn't hear anything other than someone was on me. And then I get up, and I think I told you, too. I was like, I had the worst dream, because, like, I was stuck.
You told me after.
Yeah.
Because what it was is I looked at him and I said, I had the weirdest dream about this girl. And she was like, what should we do with him? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. Leave me alone. Nothing.
Yeah.
I want to go to sleep. Nope. And he was like, what?
Like, seriously? The same time that I'm having this problem where I couldn't move and it felt like someone was on top of me, it was like in sync. And I was just like, we need to stop doing this.
I mean, and it doesn't, to me, it's like things like that just make me believe that like spirits and stuff like that are real, because that is just too much coincidence in one fucking room.
Just too much.
Oh, was I supposed to say the F word? I don't know.
No, it's fine. I never marked these for kids.
Oh, okay, good.
But yeah, those are our small-ish, well, the big one, and a small experience on creepy things. So I hope you have a nice, fun month for October and that you guys had a good Halloween. But let's hope no one else has any more experience before then.
Yes, remember, kiddos, don't play with Ouija boys.
Boys.
Don't play with Ouija boys! Boards, they're not toys. They're not toys, okay?
All right. See you guys.
I mean,
next
Ouija
time.
boys might be.
Oh, God. See ya.
Bye! We at the Cat Cafe would like to give a big shout out to Alexi, Blazy, Blisskit, Cinewolf, Cryptozoo, Eerie, Ixora, Jesse, Kamiho Brat, Lucif, Marsha, Nat, Nirvana Draven, Robert, Seasaid, Tenerbits, Vesper Kai, and Vi. And an extra big thank you to our Cat Fiend Junkie patrons, Candle Kisses, Dakota Vega, and Tech Orb. Thank you so much.
Thank you.